The return of people of African descent to the African continent is a growing trend driven by a desire to reconnect with their roots, pursue economic opportunities, and seek relief from challenges faced in other climes. Many believe that the return of the diaspora can contribute to Africa's development and progress. How do we navigate this path to ensure that Africans interested in returning can fulfill this desire? My guest, Archbishop Chidiebere Anelechi Ogu, President, African Diaspora Union, AFRIDU, will speak to us. Thank you so much, sir, for joining us on Insights.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Now, let's begin our conversation with the push for the return of Africans outside the clime.
Actually, for many years, I think there are some who are asking, even at the Senate, why haven't these efforts been made 50 years back, considering the situation? Now we know people like Malcolm X and people like Martin Luther King Jr. and the rest of them, they made their efforts during that time. But this time we discovered that the best way to do this, like other countries are doing, like Ghana, like Sierra Leone and Burkina Faso, few of them, what we ought to do and what we are doing now is to put up a bill to be passed into law. So we have presented the African Descendant Citizenship Bill to the Nigerian Senate, which is being actually sponsored by Senator Ned Nwoko as a private member bill to be passed into law. And globally, all the black nations, they know everyone is awaiting for the positive result of this bill to be passed. It has passed through the first reading, and we have actually also gone to the public hearing, the Senate public hearing that took place in Ekorekpen, Akwa Ibom, to defend it. So we are waiting, and we believe that it will go through. Possibly, it will go through. And the world is actually waiting for that. That's how we are pushing.
All right. From your explanation, you have been championing the African Descent Citizenship Bill. This is an important step to restoration. Now, there are proposals in this bill. Could you highlight them for us? Tell us more about the proposals in this bill.
When you consider that the people that who are victims of transatlantic slave trade, the people we call the historic African diaspora, those who are victims. So we know that they did not relinquish their citizenship. They did not forfeit it. So that what we are not following Ghana's way, which is citizenship by birth. But this one is restoration. Okay. Of their citizenship, because they're already citizens. So all that transpired during that time severed their relationship or severed, their inability to discover themselves, where they come from. So we are seeking for it to be restored. And there's a framework, a legal framework that should be into place. That is what we apply for, because it has to, be involved, both the NIMC, the Immigration, the Ministry of Interior, the NIDCOM, and the AFRIDU. They all have to be involved in the procedures for them to get through. Not just maybe applying and you get it. No, there is a legal framework that will be in place. There are expectations of mass exodus, especially from the United States. The mass exodus of, the black people. I met with several groups, many black chambers of commerce, from the Daliwe Black Chamber of Commerce to the, Tampa, Florida Chamber of Commerce to the, state of Illinois Black Chamber of Commerce. And so there is a plan for mass exodus. Okay. Once they get that opportunity, and everyone is looking up to Nigeria, they could have gone to Ghana, they could have gone to Burkina Faso and everything, but Nigeria still remains the world most populous black nation and the world most, powerful black nation, which everyone believes in Nigeria. Once the bill passes through into law, believe me, there's going to be a mass exodus.
A very heavy one. All right, so let's talk about what African descents face outside Nigeria. What are their challenges, and how have you been able to help them surmount some of these challenges they face, if not 100%?
I know that they've been suffering from, will I say, because they are victims of transatlantic slave trade, and most of them, they have identity crisis.
Okay.
With every effort they've made where they live, those in the Caribbean, in the South America, in the North America, in Europe and everything, no matter how successful they are, they still suffer the identity crisis. They don't want to come into Africa or into Nigeria, Nigeria being the epicenter of the transatlantic slave trade. They don't want to come in here as tourists or investors or visitors. They want to come back as citizens. So they are being encouraged. We've had many summits, conferences, workshops, and everything. And the purpose of African Diaspora Union, putting together all these things is to stop, at least be able to, help them stop the cycle, like, will I say, like biblical Israelites circling the hill country of Seir. Each time they are here, either at the AU or the UN or, running around trying to see how they can, make this happen. So we believe the best way to make it happen is to bring in this legal framework by passing it into law. And Nigeria is more strategic than any other country in Africa to do this. But they don't want to come as tourists. They want where they will have access to the country as their own, being citizens there. If anyone takes you into a village or into a community where you're staying in and you have the power to change the narrative of that very place and you are now meant to leave that very place, what would you do? Is to, build that very community you're in.
Build the community. Now, in line with the AU and UN's declarations, now, for those affected by transatlantic slave trade, how would their return be feasible?
In 2012, there was, a diaspora summit in South Africa, Sandton, in Johannesburg, which brought the policy and which brought the plans to say, okay, the diasporas, they have been declared in the 6th region. In 2015, in United Nations, which they declare the year of the African, decade, say 2015 to 2024. Now they have expanded, extended it to 2035. You see, my problem there, I will have to be very, straight here. My problem with that of the UN is when things are created, eventually budgets are created. You are creating a job, creating everything out of that you have created. And you are expecting, you could have expected to say, if there are 100 employees as a result of that, maybe at least 90 will be the African descendants. But no, now they say 2063 African Union Vision 2063. I asked a question, when all of us gather sometime to say, okay, 2063, and all you guys who have put together the 2063, how many of you are going to live to that time? With the digitalization and the way the world is going, you don't know tomorrow if there's going to be an innovation that everybody will have a wing and engine and fly themselves. Do you think that when you are not there, that the generation now wouldn't change to something else? It has to be done now or never. So all we have in mind is we believe that Nigeria could get it done and Nigeria will make it happen. So we don't have to wait, to 2063. So once Nigeria does it, you will see the rest of the countries will follow up. Remember what Nelson Mandela said? He said, Africa will never be respected until Nigeria gains that respect. So Nigeria needs to sit and be able to gain that respect from the rest of the world. Then every other country in Africa can get the respect. And this is what can make Nigeria gain their respect.
Okay. From your explanation, I need to be clear on your statement. You said some of the policies are from the UN are not in tune or in line with the concerns of the African descent. Why are Africans not challenging some of these policies?
Well, I can tell you understand the politics and diplomacy globally. I know the case of Dr. Arikana Chamburi, when she raised up some issues, when she was the AU ambassador to the United States, raised up some issues against France and what is happening. France made a case. If she is not removed, they are not going to continue with sponsorship or some of the things they do. They are not going to do that. And what happens? And they removed Arikana Chamburi.
What role is expected of the Nigerian government when we talk about restoration and the return of African descent Nigerians?
The first thing they need to do is to pass the bill into law. Once they pass the bill into law with the organizations and ministries like the Nigerian Immigration, the Ministry of Interior, the NIMC, and the NICOM, with AFRIDU, once it is passed in, I believe the rest of the matter is settled because people are asking, sending emails, calling, when can we start our applications? Well, what do we do? How do we go about it? We've had some programs here whereby the African descendants, they flew in, I think, within 1 year, 3 times they visited and others are ready to visit to say, okay, where do we start? But they can only start once the bill is passed into law.
Okay. So, are there other means ancestry can be traced aside DNA?
Yes, apart from the DNA, which officially is, I think, is the one more recognizable, but people that can really trace their histories, have a genealogical chart to say, this is where we came from, this is this. But with all that, the most important thing is the DNA. I think it's more recognizable, which is more acceptable now.
Okay, now. Okay, beyond ancestry, beyond humanity, what is the African identity like? How do we rebrand the African identity outside the shores of Africa?
You may be surprised that there are I know some countries that have, whom we are engaging with, like Colombia and the rest of them, who we have what we call tripod stand.
Okay.
The tripod stand, number one, those of them who willingly want to return back to their motherland, Nigeria or Africa. Number two, those ones who wants to invest in Africa, fully, but then they want to have access, in investing in Africa. Then number three, those ones who are not willing to come back because of where they found themselves, but they want to involve in the cultural exchange. So you will be surprised that there are many countries overseas, whether in America or the Caribbean or South America, their culture, if you are from Yoruba, you'll be shocked. You'll be wondering, are these really Yorubas? Why are their culture more deeper than the Yoruba cultures? Our president, President Tinubu, traveled to St. Lucia. You saw what happened at the Senate with the government of Grenada, Trinidad, and the rest of them. They told him practically that almost 34% of the people who are sold into slavery are Nigerians. And this is an opportunity. We believe you are coming here, is giving us an opportunity to, get back home or be, close to home or be who we really are. And the anticipation is very high. So the culture, he saw everything. So the cultures are existing, the traditions are the same one, which those of them who left here, their ancestors, we are practicing it, and they show them. And they see also answer the names. You hear Tunde, you hear Joke, you hear Chike, you hear, but then they've not been to Africa before, but they are still answering the African names.
So the roots is there. It cannot be broken.
Yeah, of course, it cannot. They will tell you it cannot be broken. Rather, they are the ones who really want to establish it more for those who may not be able to leave, their country and come back. But then there are many who, no matter what you do, they want to come back to their motherland where the ancestors walked through. They want to come.
Interesting. Archbishop Chidiebere Anelechi Ogu, President Afridu, thank you so much for joining us on Insight. And thank you for enlightening us on the issue before us. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And that's it on this episode of the program. Do join us same time next week for more on Insight. My name is Nnamdi Odipo, and I'll see you again next week. Bye for now.